Hi, my name is Dan Watanabe, and welcome to the wonderful world of entertainment industry-oriented guest speakers, workshops, and boot camps. This is a series of videos that will help explore ways that instructors in the community college and regular college systems, and maybe even some high school, can utilize the resources of the entertainment industry to help their students along a career pathway into this industry. Now, let's talk about why we would want to do that. Isn't the entertainment industry one that is, more for the crazy artists, more for those people who come from, let's say, a better well-heeled background, and those for whom going after something that's kind of a long shot, kind of a gamble, is something that they don't necessarily have to do to put their food on the table? That used to be true. For example, I was a veteran of the entertainment industry. I ended up as a vice president of development and current programming at the company now known as Fremantle Media. You might recognize them as the company that did American Idol, Price is Right, Family Feud, America's Got Talent. But I was in there when they were doing a lot of movies of the week and a lot of one-hour TV series, including Baywatch. So I can actually explain the entertainment industry for a number of different facets, including the creative end and the production end, and most importantly, the front office, which is the largest area of the entertainment industry that has perhaps some of the largest number of jobs that go unfulfilled, simply because people aren't aware that they're really there, and they're all over the place. So, let's talk about some of the differences in the industry now compared to when I entered it in the mid-'80s. First of all, it's going through a lot of upheaval in the form of a lot of big companies coming out of seemingly nowhere surrounding the industry of streaming. And for that, we can include anything from the high end, such as Netflix and Apple and CBS and Disney Plus, to more entrepreneurial sides, such as the growth of YouTube and BitChute and a host of other video services. So there's a lot of excitement that's going around this area. Just like when I entered it, there was a lot of excitement surrounding the birth of home video and the explosion of the foreign market in the independent film world that was around at that time. But the industry also is subject to a lot of upheaval. And in the same way that home video in the foreign market had problems in the past, there might be some rough waters ahead, particularly given the debt load that a lot of companies have been taking on and some of the challenges with box office in some of the major films that have been released. This always comes when there's a period when the industry expanded a lot and it seemed like there was no way to lose money. And that, of course, is the quickest way to go bankrupt. But whenever there is a lot of destruction, there's also a lot of growth. And for our community college students, this could perhaps be the most lucrative moment. It's always said that in the entertainment industry, it's worse than it's ever been. And you will always hear that said, and it's been said since 1905, when that historic camera first jammed and a bust suddenly turned into a hearse, and special effects were born, through to now, where you're seeing a lot of people saying the industry is worse than it's ever been simply because it seems to be so vertically integrated. Well, that means that there's a lot of spaces on the side. And as long as you're willing to be starting in the industry and you're starting to move forward, hey, that's the time when you can actually make your fortune. The fact that I got in when so many companies were so small, and I happened to land at one that had 20 employees and ended up by the time I left as having over 40,000 employees, can show you just how rapid the growth can be and how knowing how to be in the right place at the right time is not necessarily something that you have to leave up to the gods. It's something that you can actually prepare for. So, with that in mind, if you look at the description below, you will notice that there's a link. That link is to a group of reports that describe what the state of the industry is and how many jobs there are. Again, in the 1980s, when I first entered the industry, it had gone through an enormous expansion, and there were approximately 50,000 jobs in the LA region. Today, in that same LA region, there are over 300,000 jobs. So yes, the career path has gone from being a lot more quixotic than it was back then to being a lot more realistic. But at the same time, the competition has increased. You now have many, many film schools, not just USC, not just UCLA, not just NYU, but a whole host. The community colleges have all built up very, very robust programming. For example, at the school that I teach at right now, Los Angeles Valley College, there are five separate degrees, in broadcasting, cinema, and media arts, as well as journalism and photography. And between each of those, there are many sub-degrees. And every year, we graduate a lot of students into the industry. Most recently, there's a number of my former students who have gone on to have very, very nice careers. One of them in particular, who graduated less than 5 years ago, is now the post-production supervisor on a major Netflix series. So he's making more money than I make. So, I mean, there's that. Another one was able to get a job at a couple of the big YouTube outlets, Uprocks and the Phil DeFranco Show, which, for those of you who might not be up on YouTube stuff, is one of the biggest shows that has been around for over 10 years. So yes, we've had some successes in that arena. Another one has recently gotten a job as a development executive at a very large production company. So there's plenty of opportunities, and this is just in the very recent past that are out there. One of the challenges that's facing anybody who is teaching in this field is that there's a lot of interest in entertainment, but there's not a lot of knowledge in terms of what jobs are actually available and what is the career pathway. And over the next few videos, we are going to explore that in greater detail so that you get a greater sense of how to set up a program within your school, or if you're running a grant and have strong workforce funding, how to perhaps allocate some of that funding toward getting actual industry pros to work with you. That is what I have done for the past several years, and in the form of doing workshops, trainings, guest speakings inside classrooms, and for a while there, first in the early 2000s and more recently in the past 5 years, a bunch of boot camps. And the boot camps are 8-week intensive series where there's hands-on training between industry pros and students in all of the different aspects of production, as well as a teaching of the technical skills, the interpersonal skills, and the soft skills that are required in the front office, on the set, in post-production, and out in the field. So we will go over some of those things. Ironically, I'm going to state that the simplest is probably the best form of engagement for the students, and that is the in-class guest speakers, because those are targeted directly toward the specific needs of a particular class, with people who actually have had some introduction to what that looks like. So what we'll do is we'll go over the various types. We'll go over the various different needs that you might have, how you can scale a project to those needs, and most of all, how to make sure the students are serviced so that they can have a fairly direct pathway from the classroom into the job. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you later. And again, please check down below at the link, and you will see a bunch of reports. Those will, over time, continue to be augmented to make sure that you are as current as possible. Thank you.